What's up, everybody? Sensei here. Welcome to the show. Welcome to another Broadway Bomb video. And I don't want to beat a dead horse, but I'm telling you, I find the Broadway Bomb so intriguing for a race. I'm serious, because it's tough, man. And if you're not used to the route, or if you're not used to riding in New York City traffic, it could really, really affect how you run this race. And something about Broadway that a lot of people don't understand is Broadway is not a straight shot. It's a very confusing route. Certain places, it just will mix you up like a bag of nuts and leave you dumbfounded, I'm telling you. So I was one of the few riders that actually took the detour. And I'm just going to let you read the first part, and I'm going to jump down to where it actually gives you the detour directions. So it says the race starts at 116th Street and Broadway at noon. You make a left on 48th Street. Now that's the 48th Street detour in Times Square. You're going to ride that all the way down to Lexington. Okay, you're going to make a right turn on Lexington Ave. You take Lexington down to 31st Street, and then you're going to turn right on 31st Street. You're going to ride over one block to Park, and then Park will turn into Broadway. Now, as you can see from this picture here, Broadway is not a straight shot. It runs from the west side all the way over to the east side. And there's just certain sections of the race, or this Broadway in general, that is very confusing because the way that it cuts across the city. And it used to be easier, I would say, because a lot of Broadway was road, but now they turned it into certain parts of bike lanes, which is really awesome. But they've made Broadway public space. So where the road used to be, you'll have flowers, you'll have seating where people can eat outside and things like that. So it can really get twisted around. But here's a channel called Blue Ridge Longboard Project. I watched his video, and I want you to check out this clip, and this will explain some of the things that I was just talking about.
That was a mistake, because I don't know where I'm going. Immediately, I don't know where I'm going, and I hear Titus yelling from behind, "Take the bike path." See, Titus is a good friend. He could have just not told me.
Race!
Now, I make an immediate mistake after this, and I think maybe I can get a better speed on this bike path. Of course, that was dumb following that bike path. I didn't know where I was going. And then I had to take a terrible line through this farmer's market where Titus gained a solid 100 meters on me. And this is where I'm starting to think, all right, I've been sprinting a little too much. This is not good. Titus is, he's really far ahead at this point. And it's going from relaxed, like we're chill racing, to maybe I'm in trouble here. And then I slow down for a car, and then I almost completely lose sight of him. And this is where I'm thinking, all right, I thought I had this under control, but Titus has been racing the traffic so well. I'm going to have to really dig a little deeper now and start sprinting.
That clip was perfection at its finest. And this is another confusing part of the Broadway Bomb. Now, this is Columbus Circle. And when you first come through here, you're like, where the F am I? It's like, wow. And especially with all the traffic and all the riders, it's fun now. But what I always tell people, you look for those tan buildings, and you're going to make the first right just before those tan buildings. And that's going to keep you on Broadway, okay? And this will bring you down into Times Square. And when I was riding, like I said, I try to, memorize who's around me and different things like that. Just try to be aware of your surroundings. And the uni rider with the orange helmet on, he stayed on the Broadway route, and I actually took the detour. And we pretty much end up running right back into each other, even though I took the detour. Now, I'm not trying to race. I was just running at a very casual pace, and I was just there, like I said, to get footage and just enjoy every aspect of the Broadway Bomb. But it got to a point where I was thinking, what route is faster? Is it taking the original Broadway? Or would it be faster to take the detour? And I'm going to show you that. Now, I didn't put it in the first video. I just didn't want to make the video too long. But the more I thought about it, I was like, man, I have to show this, because I would like to hear other people's opinion on the difference of the routes. I would say if you're going to stick to Broadway, you have to know how Broadway moves, because if you don't, you will get lost. I kid you not. The way Broadway cuts across the city can confuse so many different people if you're not used to it. And even if you do live here, it can still confuse the crap out of you. Okay? So right now, I'm about to make the turn onto 48th Street, and I'm going to take it all the way over to Lexington. Now what happens here, you can see other riders position themselves, and they're going to make the right turn onto 7th Ave. See, they're making that right turn. I didn't do that. I said, I'm going to go just straight across and see how it flows with Lexington. Now, there are a couple riders. You can see them over my shoulder. I think there's 2 riders, I believe. One on a skateboard, one on a uni. Now, here's the skateboarder, and then there's another unicycle, I believe, behind me. Now, I take this way all the time. I commute to work, so I know this area very well. I work in this area. So I was like, you know what, let me just see how it feels. Now, my first thought was, when I'm taking this route, I'm like, man, it's taking me completely out of my way. It doesn't flow properly. It doesn't feel right. Because the last 2 years, I ran the Broadway route, straight down through Times Square, you know. But I said, whatever, let me just take this route, just to give it a shot. The thing about New York City is, if the road looks smooth, don't get too relaxed, because you're going to end up running into a pothole or some unknown bump. You really have to stay on top of your game. I'm talking dot every I, cross all your T's, or you will get foobarred out here. Now, I wasn't going to go blowing through the intersections. Some lights I did blow through, but stuff like this, I'm like, I'm not even trying. Like I said, I'm not racing for, trying to win. I'm just doing it for the fun of it. So right here, I'm just chilling, taking it all in, and looking at the progress of this building. I've been watching this building go up. Again, I walk through here almost every day because I commute from 42nd Street. Now, I do ride my electric unicycle sometimes, but the bus has been getting more crowded, and I didn't want to bring my EUC on the bus when it gets too crowded. So I just normally just get off at 42nd Street and walk. I'm not afraid to ride through traffic. I mean, as you can see here, I feel very comfortable in traffic. I don't get nervous. I started riding in New York City traffic back in 1995, 96 on my mountain bike. And I used to rollerblade and all that other type of stuff through New York City traffic. So the traffic doesn't, bother me at all. So now you have the Intercontinental Hotel off to your left here. I pop up on the sidewalk just to give myself a little extra room. And then now I'm going to make the right onto Lexington right here. You can pretty much stick in this bus lane, and look how clear it is. That's what was going through my head. I'm like, wow, man, this is just so clear. So I'm thinking, like, wonder, if Turbo or Declan, U-Stride, EVX, or some of these other Live, or some of these other faster riders were coming this way. How fast would they be ripping down Lexington? That's what was going through my mind right here, because look how clear it is. Now, of course, again, I'm not going to go blow through the intersection. Some I did, some I didn't. But I was just thinking, what way is faster, the detour or staying on Broadway. Now, the detour route, what I'm on now, is easier because it's more of a straight shot, and I didn't want to pass this officer up. I said I would just stay behind him and just go cranking down. But I thought that was pretty funny. But he was actually one of the officers. I believe he was one of the officers that were actually helping with traffic in certain areas. But this is, man, New York is just awesome all the way around. It's a very fun place to ride. Now, it can be an unforgiving place to ride too. You have to know what you're doing, and I don't recommend any novice rider be out here riding, because if you're not careful, you will get knocked. You'll come off the wheel. So right now, I'm going to make the right turn on the 31st Street, and I'm heading over just one block to Park Avenue. And it got a little congested right here. And one thing you always want to watch when you're riding this close to parked cars is somebody opening up their freaking door. There's nothing worse than getting doored. I got doored before on my mountain bike, and I've came close to getting doored on my unicycle too. So you got to be careful. So right here, it was just a little bit too much of a squeeze. So I kind of just skateboarded a little bit on the wheel and just chilled until this car moved. I wasn't going to try to squeeze through there. It was only a few second wait. Okay, so now the light changes, and I'm going to make the left onto Park Avenue. And I remember during New York summer streets, I was running laps up and down Park Avenue, and I remember just runs you directly into Broadway. So I'm like, I'm just going to stick on this route and just see, what it feels like. And the more I was on it, the better the flow got. Again, if you want to speed up, you can take and rip through these intersections. I'm just taking my time, enjoying the sights, and taking it all in. So we're going to continue on Park Avenue for a little bit. And I'm going to jump back in here with a little more narration in a few more minutes. Just enjoy the tunes. I'm approaching the area where Park Avenue is going to run into Broadway. And it was an easy run, I'm telling you. And now it is a little congested, but compared to trying to navigate through parts of Broadway, at 34th Street, down through 32nd Street, even when you get down to like 14th, it wasn't as bad, to me anyway. So you have the bike path off to the right, and you just stay toward your right. That's it. So now I hop in the bike path, and it's just a straight shot now. And what you're going to see, I'm going to run into the Uni Riders, the Eastgates, all the people, some of the people that I actually had separated with when I made the detour at 48th Street and Times Square, or 48th and Broadway. And you can see them up there. Again, I'm just trickling myself through the intersection. I'm not trying to blow through this thing. Now, if I was racing, I would have just hit a straight nose dive right through the intersection and keep on going. But you can see the people up there now, the riders. And I kept saying to myself, what way is faster? The detour or the original Broadway? And I don't think we're going to find that out until we have people actually divide up and race that route. You have some people go the detour that are in it to win it, and you have some others that are going to take the original Broadway route. Now, me personally, if I was going to try to win this thing, I would stick to the original Broadway route because it is called the Broadway Bomb. That's what I would do, me personally. But if I'm not going for the win, I would go and I would take the detour because it's just less hassle. It's more of a straight shot. Now, you do have to make, a couple rights, but it's way less confusing than trying to stay on Broadway. That you can get yourself lost. But that's really about it. Wow, if you get the opportunity, come to New York for the Broadway Bomb. Even if you don't do the Broadway Bomb, come to New York, hook up with some of the local riders, and just do a ride out. Do a group ride. I'm telling you, I think you'll have, number one, more respect for how New York riders ride because you'll understand the flow of the environment. When you're up here, you have to ride aggressive. If you don't ride aggressive enough, you're getting knocked off your wheel. If it's not, some of the traffic, pedestrians, or whatever knocking you off your wheel because you're not aware, the road's going to knock you off. You're going to hit a crack, you're going to hit a rut, you're going to hit a pothole, and you're going to come off the wheel. So riding in New York City, you have to ride for keeps. Otherwise, you're not going to be on your wheel very long. So with that being said, you get on your wheel and you ride it like you hate it. You be safe out there, but you ride it like you hate it. I'm Sensei. Hello, good night, and enjoy the rest of the video.